Hey, so I want to replace the battery in my OnePlus One phone. It's apparently it's about 6 years old or 6 or 7 years old. They came out 2013-14 as kind of the flagship killer. Basically, I've had it for about 4 years, maybe five, and it's I've put Lineage Cyanogen on it. I've put Lineage OS on it, and it's been running great. All of a sudden, just recently, it just started randomly rebooting, doing a boot loop, and so it would middle of everything. I think it was the other day. Middle of everything, it just cut out, rebooted, and came to the Android label, and then kept doing this boot over and over and over again. I could get it into the recovery, but it wouldn't go beyond that. I tried doing little things like do a backup of some of the data in TWRP, Team Win Recovery Project, and about 8% in, it restarted again, which was a real pain. I'm hoping this is just that, after 6 or 7 years, the battery has given up the ghost, and it doesn't have any juice left or something has fried it. To power it. So, it's a power problem. So what I've gone and done is, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. It doesn't seem to work. It just goes into the boot loop if I have it unplugged, but if I plug it in, it seems to work just fine, absolutely hunky-dory, which is really weird to me. So anyway, what I've gone and done is I bought myself a new battery off of eBay for, the dead cheap price that eBay things cost. I'm, obviously hoping this is quality. Everybody does, and everybody is going to be, either excited and it's going to work, or it's not going to work. So we'll see what happens with this one. It might not be a battery problem. It could be something else. It could be a software issue or other hardware problem, but it doesn't seem to be hardware if I plug it in. So clearly it's power transfer somewhere. Anyway, the video is going to be me taking the battery out of this thing, putting this battery in, but I'm going to be using the tools that came with it and a specialty tool that I happen to have in the house. Here goes. Let's see if this works. Alright, I've always had a screen protector on. It's sort of a rubbery King Soft one, and I've always had a case, like a rubbery, this is a I think this is Belkin, maybe not, a rubbery case. And I've never had a screen problems in all the time that I've owned this. You can see around the edges, I don't know if you can see this in the video, but it started to really wear. You can actually see in the sandstone cover, you can see it. It's like actually picking up dirt, and there's little bits that are worn off around the corners, but it's still thin. So first things first, I'm going to take out the SIM card, and that's in this little hole here on the side. I'm going to use my specialty tool. Hopefully this one fits. There it is. And out comes my SIM card. Next. Let's get out all my tools. Right, so we've got the obligatory guitar clip, got the various screwdrivers. These are like little mini star hex shaped ones. I've got loads of those because they always get mangled if you use them too much. I think there's different sizes there too. And then there's a mini Phillips head. Here's a little pry bar tool. Right, and then there's the suction cup. The suction cup is basically, once you get the back off, and you get this little panel here off with all the little, I think there's 9 screws, you then have to pry the battery up. So you kind of stick this on there, and you go in from the left, and you start pulling it off. And there's a little bit sticky on the right hand side here, and that comes after you've popped off the little connector. So let's give this a shot. Let's see if it works. See if everything I'm just explaining now actually is going to come to fruition. Do you know what I'm also going to do? I'm going to go grab some more guitar eggs. Got my own little collection, and I'm going to use some heavier duty ones. So that's a 1.2 mil one. Let's get a couple of them. Oh, there's a little bit thinner. No, we're going to use that. Let's use this. Ooh, it's pretty. It's 0.81 mil. I like that one. So hopefully I don't break it. Let's give it a shot. Done this. Popped the back off here once before. Oh, popped the back off here once before, but it's not exactly the easiest of things. Right. So I've gone in from the power side. Hopefully this isn't the bad way of doing it. Someone's going to send me a message and say, oh, you never start on the power button side. I did manage to break the tiny little bit of plastic just there. It's right next to the SIM card tray. It's not broken off, it's just one side of it's broken. I could just buy a replacement cover, back cover. But they're becoming harder and harder to find, and they're more expensive than they should be. Because this is 7 years old. So let's just pop this right the way around. And there's my broken piece. Let's see, I want to go down around the power. Micro USB port. So can I even pop this off just aside? Gently, cautiously. Hey, there we go. Right, and here you've actually got a whole series of interesting things. So you see there's these little pins. Little pins just here, 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 here. I couldn't tell you exactly what any of these things are, but there's little connectors on the inside here. I think this one might be the NFC, near field communication antenna, and that connects into these little pins just there. Right, so let's have a look. On the back here, you've actually got a whole series of screws. Let's see, there's 3 along this side, 3 along this side. This one's covered with a little white tamper evident sticker. And then there's 3, 1, 2, 3 across the center, and those are covered with little plastic or rubberized plastic button things. Right, and then once you take this off, this battery, I'm just going to do a quick comparison between this battery and the OnePlus One Battery I got online. It says 100%, blah, 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 genuine. Hopefully eBay is not lying. Quick visual comparison. It is the same size. This one, funny enough, has a little piece of tape over the OnePlus symbol. And it's ever so slightly a darker red. I don't think that really matters. It's got the exact same labeling there. Has this little sticker on it, 100% genuine. Or not 100% genuine, it just says original. There we go, not genuine. And I'm not exactly sure what that means. It's also got another piece of black tape here. We'll see what it looks like on the opposite side of this battery. Right. I'm going to pause this for a minute. I'm going to go get myself a little tool to take off these little plastic things. Right, so the tool I might use is this guy here. A friend gave this to me. I think it was for my 30th birthday. So hopefully that little point is going to be just enough. I can pop these guys out. without damaging anything. Big key point. Don't damage your cool phone. Let's do this. There's one. Two. That guy was sticky. No, I'm just going to say while I'm doing this, I've heard people saying that when they popped this panel off here, because basically this panel is covering the motherboard and all the other goodies inside, when they did that, they ended up pulling up some of the other connectors. So I can put this away. Hey, don't need to have sharp objects just sort of hanging around. They popped off one of these little, I can't even tell, the screen's doing weird things, one of these little connectors off the back of the motherboard. And so their screen just stopped working, and they were like, oh no, we've just ruined everything. It seems to be fine. It seemed to be fine when they took it all back apart and they realized what they had done. They pushed everything down before they put it all back together, before they put it back on and committed, and things were fine. So I'm going to do the same. Right, we're going to use the little Phillips head screwdriver. Remember, count them out. I'm going to also try and be considerate about which things I put back where. The concern as well, something else you might find, or I'm going to find probably, is that each one of these is going to have sort of Loctite, a little bit of super glue on the end of each screw. Just going to make it just a touch tighter initially. I'm not going to put any of that back, but right on the end of the screw, it's probably going to be unfocused. Right on the end of the screw is a little bit of blue. I'm going to guess that's my Loctite that I was just talking about. Just leave it there. Apologies to all those people who are going, come on, just get on with it. Put a fast forward on your video. I want to see double speed. I'll tell you what, go into YouTube settings in this video and click 2x speed or 2 times speed. It will be equally as good because I'm not going to pull up the video editor. I might do, but immediately, right now, I don't want to. All these screws have that little blue on it. Little bit of Loctite. I don't know why blue seems to be the color. You can get different colors, different strengths. Maybe that's why we want it to be irreparable. So put 3 there on the right. But I suppose they're all going to be the same size, aren't they? So it doesn't really matter. Outside ones will definitely be the same size. I have done other home repairs before, so I have got other screwdrivers. I've not got just like a proper kit. I should get one because I've done it enough to make it so that it would be a good idea. So I've done those 5. Now it's this little one with the tamper-proof thing. Let's use our specialty tool again. Pop that off. Super duper finicky. So it just tore. Yeah, it's almost like white paint. That's how fragile this little sticker was. Probably like a little plasticky, not paper one. I'm just going to reiterate, why am I doing this? Because I've got a 6 or 7-year-old phone that seems to be working almost at the same level as kind of the mid to lower range phones that are coming out brand new. However, this one actually has 64 gigs of memory, or of a hard drive storage space. It's got 3 gigs of RAM, which is the memory it uses to process apps and things. It's got a fairly decent processor and camera setup, so I kind of, why use things? Why buy new when old works just fine? It seems like one problem I'm having, because this is a tiny screwdriver, I don't have any other sized Phillips heads. I think this is probably the right size, it's just the Loctite's doing its job. The problem I'm having is that as I turn it, every once in a while I hear a thud, and that means it's just jumped the cross, the thread cross. I'm sure there's a proper term for that with the screwdriver. By the way, I don't know if you notice, this is the second or third day, for the eagle-eyed out there who've watched videos on my channels. This is I think the third day I've worn this Batman shirt. Got myself a collection of Batman shirts, and this is my technical cool one. So this is obviously blueprints, pictures of the Batwing. Funny enough, I looked it up. It is an actual thing from the US Patents Office for the Batwing toy from the 1989 Batman. Okay, so here goes. Something interesting I just noticed. You can see this back panel. It kind of comes to a T on there and comes out in a weird T shape this way. This is the volume buttons, up and down, and then power button does the same. You can actually just see a ribbon cable right along the side. I'm probably covering with my finger. Right along the side, just there, between the button and the panel here. I've actually not gone any deeper than this ever before on this phone, hence why it's quite clearly the case, hence why I had to take the little paper or sticker off there and the plastic buttons off there. Alright, let's pop this baby off. See how we can do that cleanly without, again, like I said, pulling up the connectors for other portions of the phone internally, like the screen and things. I'm going to try and do this just slow and steady. Why am I making this video, by the way, while I am sitting here concentrating? I'm making this video because, one, I want to educate. I want people to be able to do this sort of thing. I want to make space. I mean, I'm sure there's bazillions of other phones doing videos doing the exact same thing with other phones or even the same phone. I want to be part of that. I think there's no real reason to be so, that's all my screws, so beholden to commercialism that we buy new all the time. We can buy used. Other people can pay buckets of money. Let me just make sure I've got all my things. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. There's all my screws. Let me just be cautious here. I could use the pry thing, I suppose. Pry tool. Yeah, I think we don't need to be so stuck to buying new. I think that's a little bit of the problem of situations of life at the moment, and it's touching on a little bit on humans' need for self-validation and touches on selfishness as well. I'm not going to do that because I don't actually know what I'm pushing against. I'm going to use the pry tool now. Pop this side off. So that side's mostly done. Don't want to break this T off here. Tiny little bit of sticker just stuck to my finger. Hey, that's not very pleasingly poppy. Oh, yep, and the battery is stuck to it, so I'm just going to come around the other side here. Hopefully not bend any of these little pins. Like I was saying, there's these connectors on the back of it. On the back of the panel, back panel. Just want to be really gentle. Somebody else said their camera actually stuck and they were unnerved by that. Look. The back panel, let's just show you, is actually currently stuck to the battery connector there. Do I have anything else stuck? No. But you can see all along here there's these little, whatchamacallit, like cushions, sticky cushions, and they actually kind of adhere, especially over the life of a battery. When you've plugged it in, you've left it overnight and it gets super hot. That's basically what's going on here, so I'm going to need to just gently attempt, hey, didn't seem gentle, but it was, pop this back panel off. There we go. Now you can see all the little black cushions that are there, that are supposed to be helping to hold these things down. But like I said, somebody else's experience was that one of those cushions popped off other connectors along the back here. Let's see, one of these, when I pull the battery up, we will see exactly what each one of these are, or we might see which one's which. One of these is the actual screen, the touch screen and LCD. I think it's an LCD screen. Oh, here's something that popped off. That right there. That might be actually the screen. Just needs to go back onto its, back and seated onto its thing. Very satisfying little click there. Let's just make sure other things like the other cameras. Huh. I apologize to anybody watching. I am actually just doing a little mini study because like I said, haven't gone this far before. Oh, there we go. The selfie cam, the front-facing camera, was actually popped out of its spot. Wasn't centered anymore. So I'm just making sure everything is back in place before I pop this bad boy out and have a look. I think I might get a visit from my wife in a second. She's gonna go, what are you doing? I'm doing a video. Ooh. Hello. Right. And here's another thing. There's a whole lot just underneath here. You can see some of those connectors across the top. There we go. Some of these connectors across the top, they represent ribbon cables that are going down under, and they are dropping under the battery, and they come into the area down here, which is like the touch buttons and the lights for the touch buttons and the speakers, which are kind of there, which are currently caked in muck because that's what happens when you have a phone for 7 years. let's continue trying to pry this guy off. Like I said, I think there's a line of glue just along this right-hand side if you're looking at it face on. I really don't want to damage the battery because it's just not clever. Why am I not using a knife? Again, don't want to damage the battery because it's not clever. Oh, I can just hear it. Oh, you can see. Ah, here it comes. Being gentle. So there we go. And seeing other connectors popped up. Oh, that one just clicked in place. Don't know what that one was. Let's make sure everything pops in properly. Some of these things could be the reason why the phone is doing its weird glitchy thing. I've dropped it and then it just decides, one of those decides to pop off. Don't really want to put too much hand contact to some of these because who knows, I might just fry something. I'd be really, 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 really pissed off at myself for that. Okay, so we've got, let's do, I'm going to glue the decks a little bit. We've got, don't need to have these out at the moment. We really don't need all these little screwdrivers. Thank you eBay services for the neat things that you do where you give us all these things, but now I've got to have a place for them. I probably don't need, well I will need this again, so I'm going to leave that there. Let's have a look at our new battery. Ooh. Okay, so interesting thing. It looks almost identical. There's something different about the model number there. It's the same, but for the very end, and that might just be the fact that they've made several billion, maybe several 100,000 of these batteries. I can't speak Chinese, so I couldn't tell you if those are the same. They look pretty similar. Everything otherwise, BLP 571 is the model that we're looking for. Interesting deal is, again, it's covered with tape, and instead of this little ribbon strip being on the inside, like we see here, it's actually tucked in. It's on the outside, which is actually probably pretty nifty and handy for our purposes, because when you place it in there, it's just raised just enough that it drops the top of that ribbon cable straight onto the deal, onto its receiver, without having to bend it under or around or anything. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, let's give this a shot. Haven't needed to pry any stuff off. Ooh, that actually popped out a little bit. That's a bit annoying. Hopefully, that's probably just when I took this off. Just pop this in place. That is not wanting to go. Let me just have a look a bit closer. Oh, here we go. No, it's still not quite bedded in there properly. Let's get a little bit more. That seems a bit more certain. Yep, it's a little bit more tighter on there now. Now, this is the moment when I really wish I had maybe done a little bit more shopping on eBay. Because my gyroscope, not my gyroscope, my compass on here is a bit funky. It could be better. It doesn't actually register direction. This receiver here is the headphone jack. It doesn't actually do its job very well either. And also sometimes the USB port is a bit finicky. So we're now at too much time, and I wish I could just speed this up. But I'm not gonna. Okay, let's try this out. Undo the whole process. Seeing if there's anything else I need to be aware of. There it is. Before I do that, I'm going to test this out. In order to do this, to test this, sorry. In order to test this, I'm just going to take my charging port. This is a generic USB charger. It's a little bit higher voltage than it should be, but I'm using it. And I'm using a USB-C cable with an adapter. And again, somebody's going to tell me, don't do that, you should only use OEM stuff. Ooh, that sounded very positive. Well, that's really, really nifty. I'm just going to unplug this. Just have a quick look. Self-cam and sensors seem like they're all in the right spot. Camera's in place still. Okay. Now for the fun part, putting it all back together. Somebody may pick this up and watch this and go, how do you know so much about phones, about your phone? The reason is because I have watched copious amounts of videos on how to do this so that I didn't mess up my connection to the world, to others, to my wife. Okay. I would love to see somebody who's done this before. I mean, you see millions of videos of people doing this sort of thing. It takes them 5-10 minutes. I'm like, oh, it'll take me 5-10 minutes. Where are we at? 33 minutes? Probably for me talking so much. I'm a little bit annoyed that I decided to do this at 12 o'clock on a Friday. One reason is that this is a form of connection, as we all know, it's a phone, with others. And it's probably going to need some time to charge. From 0, who knows, it's probably been sitting in a warehouse somewhere before. ages, and just who knows if it actually was even started. Created with a charge or anything, or 50% charged. You know, some of these things come pre-juiced. I'm saving one of these screws because it's actually still got the sticker pieces on it for this hole in the top right corner. I don't know why. I just feeling a bit precious. Actually, I have to be a little more careful. It's not thread. Yes, I've got one of these that I used on something else, and the little cross on it is all mangled, and it kind of starts twisting or breaking off the little corners of the cross because I forced it and it didn't like it. So luckily enough, I was just going to say the sticky stuff from the old battery, it's come off into the back of this, which is good. So there's probably just enough that, just me doing this, just pressing down on the new battery, it will stick it in place. Something I like doing, if I can help it, is to place my screws into their holes. Don't move the thing if you've done this. Place the screws in their holes, and then I don't need to hunt for them. Reach over, grab it, put it in place. Again, I can just start screwing, kind of like finish this one. Feels tight. I can jump straight over into the next. This is that one. It's got a little white speck on it, so it's clearly the sticker one. Okay. Right. Put my tool away. Well, these tools. I'm going up here. Let's pop the back on. Let's see what I have left to do. I actually don't need the pry tool. I don't need the guitar picks. I don't need my specialty SIM card opener. Can reuse that as a paper clip. Oh, clever. So I can put the back on and put the SIM card and SIM card tray in. SIM card faces that way. Right. So, the funny thing is, this is clearly made of like copper, because just inside there, right where I'm going to have been talking into it or breathing on it or having it in my pocket and rainwater getting into it, it has started to corrode and go green, which is what copper does. Not green as in, oh gross, it's slimy, but green as in copper. Right, for the most part, those holes are basically clean. I'm not gonna fiddle with that just now, because I want to get this thing charging, and so I can use it sooner rather than later. One thing, I think it may have been even when I bought this one, it said make sure to set it to charge for 6 to 8 hours. Like, to be honest, this charging adapter that I've got is juicy enough that I could probably do it in 3 or 4 hours, and it would charge the 3100 milliamps that is supposed to be in here. Right, so I'm going to just check real quick, because I had a Samsung Galaxy S2, and these little buttons here, this is the power button and the volume buttons, they would just pop out. They were like just a slot in little piece of plastic that just slid into place. And on this one, it's not actually dissimilar, but I think it's more secure. It is actually kind of like in there properly. So I don't know if this is going to focus, but just in here, these guys would pop out. Now I said earlier that I'd broken the SIM card tray point. So here's the SIM card tray. Let's see if it actually even focuses. It might not. So here's the SIM card tray, and what's happened is, you probably can see this. That's just come off. It's not off, but I really shouldn't fiddle with it much more than I've done. There we go. Yeah, that's annoying, but it is what happens when you're dealing with really small bits of plastic like that little lip there. Okay, let's do this. You should hear all these little clips all along the side start to click in place. Right around the USB, micro USB port. Another one right on the power button side. Any others I need to be aware of? You can actually see if there's a gap. Super annoying around the SIM card tray. There's still just, it seems like a tiny gap, but what it is it's that bit of plastic just slightly proud. And it might actually be fixed by this, by the SIM card tray. Holding it, pressing it out. Don't want too much fingerprints on my SIM card because that might actually interfere. Finger oils and juices. Sounds gross. Sweat. Hand sweat. I actually had one of these pop out inside of a phone once, and it was like, it wasn't in there square. It was really annoying because I was sitting there going, oh no, my phone's broken, and it gave me super stress because that's what happens with me. I do stuff, and when my phone doesn't want to work, it weirdly enough stresses me out almost to capacity. I don't know what to capacity means. Right, so there it is. I'm just going to plug this in, and we'll just check again to make sure it's working. There's the deal. Just make sure it goes to the battery. There's the battery sign. It actually says it starts at 0. Usually, if your battery is 50%, this will start at 50% rather than at red 0. So there you go. If this is at all interesting, do the weird thing, click like, subscribe, or at least click like. Put a comment in the bottom, tell me my video is 40 minutes too long, and we will go from there. Thank you very much. Have a good one.